So, Bows versus Bros? Or and? So what's going on? This is Bows and Bros, and this is Josh, and
I'm Sanina.
We appreciate you tuning back in. This is part 2 of Soul Ties. We're bringing it back to you. It was so good and so juicy the first time that I felt like, man, we need a second episode.
Yeah, we definitely need to keep going.
Definitely. So what we left off before, in fact, I'll just kind of re-update people of where we
but
were
they
at.
want to know how you doing.
So I'm good. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I really can't complain.
Okay. That's what's up. So check this. So we already talked about people that are misinformed, misinformed and therefore convinced that sex is strictly a single-dimensional physical act with no emotional, spiritual connection. That was our first. We were talking about the 3 reasons unhealthy soul ties take place. And the second reason, we were talking about a person, usually the woman, gives him or herself sexually to someone expecting that the intensely intimate act of intercourse would create a bond that would lead to deeper levels of commitment in the relationship. So that was number 2. And so now we're on number 3. So we're happy that you guys tuned in and are ready to kind of get back into this. So let me go ahead and just jump right back into it. Okay. So 2 people commit to a marriage and therefore surmise. Surmise. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Surmise. Bless. Because that didn't look right. But I was about to say surprise. And I said,
y'all, he's reading off of Google too. Remember from the last episode.
Right. Here we go. Thank you.
That's what he said, right?
Surmise that the covenant vows are only formality. So they live together, enjoy a sexual relationship outside of a lifelong commitment. But later they decide for whatever reason that they don't want to live in a covenant relationship and eventually break up. They usually don't realize how deeply they have wounded each other as their souls are ripped apart, tearing the very fabric of their being in separation. So pretty much in short, because I know I just said a whole lot of stuff, but pretty much in short, what it's saying is like, we've already talked about the soul tie that when you have somebody that, you just have sex with, and then you have a soul tie with somebody, pertainingly the woman, just kind of gives herself so that she can have that connection. And then the third unhealthy soul tie that we're talking about is somebody that was married, maybe even a long-term relationship, something to that effect, and they were together for a while. And then end up breaking up to saying, look, we were together, we had a connection, and now we have to cut that off.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's pretty much the third one. And I can really attest for me personally. I used to be married, and when I got married, I thought that, I was super young. It was a week before my 21st birthday. And I was one of those guys, I was like, you can't tell me nothing. Like, this is exactly what I want. I know it. And even though I had my friends, I had even family members, they were like, I don't know. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I was still pushing forward. Excuse me. So, bless. But even after that, I went through the situation of I ended up cheating and there was just like this imbalance, because that's an imbalance once you start doing that and you introduce that into a long-term relationship. So I had that kind of issue, and then we end up kind of having our rough patch, and then we end up parting ways. But the thing that was, I was married for 6 years.
Okay.
But honestly, the first 3 years was really the years that, that I'm happy, we're doing things together, anniversaries, that type of thing. But then the last 3 years were probably the most turmoilist.
Okay.
Because that's right around the time that I started doing my mess.
Okay.
And during that time frame, I was just like, I was young. I was like, man, I do what I want to do. It's whatever. And I didn't even understand how that really was affecting her, how it was affecting, because she had 2 kids, how it was affecting her kids, how it was affecting, even me on my daily life. So when we end up separating, and I was, the separation for that year, I had this thing where I wasn't going to date anybody, and I was just going to strictly I'm going to go to my parents' house and I'm going to work. And I actually changed whole career paths and everything at that point. So I just became fully invested in work. But one thing that I noticed is that I had a connection and it was so deep with her. I would start doing stuff like there were shows, like for example, she really liked Grey's Anatomy. And so my thing was I would watch Grey's Anatomy now. It was just like, I remember when we used to see this. And it wasn't because I really liked the show, but it was just like the remembrance of that person of this is what we did together. And that's just like that's really like a small taste. But when I went through that moment, it was, oh my God, like, I'm not used to not having you around. I'm not used to that connection. And then at so time, like I said, even though obviously we were married, so we had obviously had sex, but it's connections to other things. Like it was like, certain foods, like at that point, I had never ate gizzards, right? Never, because she's from the country, by the way. And I didn't like livers. I know for sure I didn't like livers, but gizzards, she was just like, yeah, like it's good. You should check it out. And it was one of those things where now I can't eat gizzards now because it reminds me of her. It reminds me of like certain things that we did. Certain time frames of my life. And so, am I scared to eat gizzard? You know what I'm saying? No, but it's just kind of like where it's even crazy because now I don't even have a taste for them now.
Yeah, I can understand that.
And it's not because, again, of the flavor or nothing like that, but it's strictly because of it reminding me of her. And so it's like I kind of train my brain to be like, nah, I don't even like them no more because that reminds me of her.
But do you actually like them, though?
I do know. I do. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. But they gotta be fried. They gotta be fried hard too, because fried hard like at the Arab gas station. That's where the best gizzards at. That and Golden Skillet.
Those gizzards. You get those in the country, right?
Yeah, I mean you can get gizzards anywhere, but
okay.
they be. I mean,
I don't eat those things.
I know you from the city. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying? It was tough. I mean, what do you have any like a situation where you were like locked in with a person?
Yeah, I was locked in with a person. I've never been married though.
Okay.
And so I can definitely see that because I remember when everything transpired with us. So one of my love languages is to cook, and I really love to cook. And so when I'm doing that, it just reminds me of like, being safe at the house and, just doing things that you were taught to do as a female, like, growing up. But I remember when everything transpired with us, I stopped cooking because it was a happy place for me. I was like, I'm cooking for someone. I'm enjoying this. Like, I'm trying new recipes and all that good stuff. So I stopped cooking for years.
Wow.
Literally. And I'm just now to the point now, maybe about a year ago, where I started cooking again. But this time around, it's more so cooking for myself, not like cooking for someone else. Because before, a lot of things that I would do was for what we were doing. So like, I remember like I would never even make a decision without going over it with them. Like, and if they told me no, I wasn't doing it. And so I feel as if that might have been a soul tie for me.
Ooh.
Because I would not move without making sure that they were okay. I would make sure like I wouldn't go places because I knew it would make them upset. I mean, I cut a lot of stuff out of my life.
Wow. Strictly because of that.
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure. And so now I look back and I'm like, dang, I missed so much stuff because I was always so focused on what they were going to think about it.
Exactly.
And not what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
I mean, so everyone knows, well, if you don't know, I sing. So I even would like not do engagements because they didn't want me to go out and sing. And that's
crazy.
tough. That's tough.
That's crazy.
For me.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yes.
I mean, I guess it can be like, because you say this word all the time, but stronghold. You know what I'm saying? It can be a stronghold on you where it's just like it's not necessarily that you care what they think, but it's almost where you don't want to disappoint them. And it's like, you don't want to just, I'm kind of walking on eggshells. And I don't feel like that's really like a healthy situation. Anything that you have to walk on eggshells and you got to feel like I can't talk to you about or I can't, express myself, especially in a relationship. Like, that's an issue.
Yeah, and a friendship.
And a friendship as well, though.
For sure.
But that's why I said any relationship, really. Like even if you want to take it to business, you know what I'm saying? If you're in a business relationship with somebody that's no sexual anything, no physical, no emotional, nothing. It's literally like just a business relationship. And even if I don't communicate exactly what I need or exactly the, you know what I'm saying, the issues that I, you know what I'm saying, if I don't do those right things, I end up having the connections and be like, well, now I'm scared to make certain moves because this person right here, and what if they're not maybe even at that place that you are in your business, you know what I'm saying, where you're successful and they're not. And so sometimes that soul tie of like, oh, I'm just connected to you. And so all of a sudden when I'm doing good and you can't be that good friend for me, that's unhealthy. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. And honestly, just to like tag, I think that's why like we get along so well because, so both of us is like extremely busy,
Right. For sure.
and we do a lot of stuff together, business wise, a lot of stuff together. Oh yeah, that's why. Like I feel like our friendship is so healthy because we understand the balance of everything, and we try not to do the absolute most.
Right.
And so like it works out because like I get it because he's in production, so and I'm into music, but his hours are longer than mine. Like
For sure.
when you think about it, and so some people that could be a little hard for them to deal with. But that's why it's good to be connected to people that you kind of understand and you know, because a lot of times, like for me, like with my ex, like we were two different people. So you're talking about someone that listened to music but didn't do music.
Ooh.
Okay, or possibly whatever their career was, I didn't want that career. And so it was just trying to find that balance of like understanding one another. And I think that's why sometimes too with us it works out, because even though you possibly singing is not something that you do full time, but you're into music, you're into production, and so it all just like correlates together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think it's just one of those things where I'm excited that it worked out that way. You know what I'm saying? That we understand each other and that type of thing, because it's definitely a yin and yang type of thing. I can't do it without you and you can't do it without me. You know what I'm saying? Granted, we can always do our independent way and she can go her way and do what she has to do and I do what I can do. But at the same time, us putting that superpowers together, it makes it so much easier. You know what I'm saying? Like me as a production guy, I think a lot of times, a lot of issues I always walk into with a production where, you know what I'm saying, there's issues or whatever. It's usually just communication problems. That's usually the biggest thing. Like you have 6 departments and nobody's talking to each other.
Yeah.
And nobody knows what's going on. And then you have some people that, oh, I was waiting on this guy to do it. Or I was waiting on him to do it. Oh, so what's going on? So we all just really sitting here waiting on each other.
Just true.
So it's just really like when you have a decent communication, then also when you know the artist. Like I know the artist ahead of time. So again, when I come in, I kind of already know, all right, so who's going to be, is this a tracks? Is it band? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Is this a live show? Is this a recording? Like I kind of already know half that stuff going in. When a lot of what goes on the outside, when I do a show elsewhere, most times I don't know that until I show up in certain situations.
And this is not really what we're talking about, but just
we got
to tell you, if you guys, when you have a business and for singers and you're looking for a production manager, make sure you get to know your production manager, because it will make your life a lot easier. Because a lot of times when I do shows, I really don't have to say much because he's already going to do it.
Right. And then you say, you know, as an artist, you say, what is a production manager to me? What do I need that for? You ever walked into a venue, have no idea what the sound's like. You have no idea, you know, if you gonna need mics. You don't have idea if you need to bring speakers. You know how if you one of those people that, you know, you need in ears, like you don't know anything.
Yeah, so you need one.
So yeah,
big or small. But
for sure.
Get back.
But let's get back to it. But yeah, soul ties.
Yeah.
I understand that there are hundreds of other reasons why
For sure.
unhealthy soul ties take place. We
Yeah.
don't want to limit to just the three that we talked about, or really 4. But at the same time, we want to know that understand the signs, understand what's going on if it's a soul tie,
Yeah.
and
And even too, like, just to talk about the spiritual side of it, like a lot of times, like in the Bible, it talks about, you know, not having, pretty much, I'm just paraphrasing, not having idols, you know, before God. And so a soul tie really can be an idol, when you are always consistently thinking about this person, or consistently wanting to know what this person feels, or just having that connection that is really necessarily supposed to be between possibly you and God, and if you are married, you know, with your spouse, but not as deep. So sometimes you just have to also remember that if it is something that you think about more than you think about God, you kind of need to take a look at that.
I agree 100%. You know, you never want to take anything and let that take his place. You never.
For sure.
You know.
Hallelujah.
Amen. Bless. But so moving forward, so you want to say what's some signs, right, that you have an unhealthy soul tie?
Yeah.
If you're physically or emotionally or even spiritually abusive relationship, but you feel so attached to them that you refuse to cut off the connection and set boundaries with them. So
That's like number one.
number one, that's really like 80%.
Like legit.
So obviously we know what physical abuse is, so that's pretty obvious, right? We know what emotional. Well, do we know what's emotional abuse?
I think emotional abuse is like, okay, so for instance, like, say if you walk in the house and you're like, oh my God, something happened today, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, okay. That's emotionally abusive.
I agree.
Because you're like so excited, like, oh my God, like this person called me, this happened, this is what's about to go. And then they're like, that's good. Are you cooking?
So somebody that's disinterested
Yeah, and
is
what you want
emotional
to
abusive.
do.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that does make sense.
Because you think about it, like, so say, because say if you were to call me and
Right.
you go over some good news, and I was like, okay, that's nice, Josh. Where you at? You're gonna be like, what?
Right. Okay, weirdo.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not gonna want to tell me,
You right.
you know, things that go on, because I'm never gonna be excited for you. So I think that's emotional. Yeah, I think so.
I think it's for me, when I think about emotional abuse, I think about somebody who, I guess in the same instance, isn't supportive. I think somebody who tears you down. I think somebody that when you have a new idea and that person, if you don't genuinely believe in the idea, saying that, okay, well, I don't know if that'll work, right? So that's one way. Versus like you saying, you know what, that's a dumb idea. Why would
They
you
wanna
even
get
think?
beat up, don't
Why
they?
would you even think of something like that? Yeah. That's emotional abuse, because you have somebody that sometimes it's like you want to share that thing with that person, and when you can't even do that, sometimes that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. So
For
yeah.
sure.
What about spiritual abuse?
I think, honestly, to me, okay, let me be honest. I don't necessarily know per se what spiritual abuse would be,
Okay.
but I'm going to assume that spiritual abuse could be you guys spiritually on a totally different level,
Okay.
or a totally different denomination of what you're doing. So you're talking about, let's just say, for instance, because in my family, on my mom's side, we have a lot of Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And on my dad's side, and then a few of my mom's family members are Christians. So unfortunately, sometimes we're not able to do everything together because of our spiritual beliefs. And so I think sometimes that can be in a relationship. That particular situation could be considered like a spiritual abuse, because you're always walking on eggshells. Like, well, I serve a God who can do this. And then they're like, no, we don't have a God and we're not doing that.
Ooh.
And so I feel like sometimes you can like conflict with the spiritual aspect, if you guys are not spiritually, is it, I guess, considered like yoked or yeah? So
I feel you. Yeah, I kind of say the same thing. Like when you're not spiritually connected to each other. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're like, you could be in a situation where you're the one that goes to church all the time. You're the one that you're doing your thing, and then I think it could be abusive in a spiritual aspect when it's like, if you don't want to be a part of it, just stay home. Just do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But when you're saying, well, that God you serve ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You going to church for nothing. Well, why you giving them tithes? Like it's just kind of one of those things for me where it's like, you're really taking that. Because I'm expressing this. I'm expressing that I love God. I want this. I want to be a part of this. And then the least that you could do is just, like I said, keep your mouth quiet if you're not going to be supportive. Not for real. Like, that's probably, I mean, because I ain't, don't want to say the wrong thing. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Just
no, I got you.
Go about your business if you're not going to be a part of this. That's cool if it's not. But, you know what I'm saying? We just...
You better keep your mouth closed.
Hey, right. Go ahead. Sound like somebody dead.
Oh God.
But anyway, let me see here. So let me see. You have left a relationship maybe long ago, but you think about the other person obsessively. You can't get them out of your mind.
Ooh.
So that's the sign. Oh, by the way, this is 7 signs of unhealthy cell tie. I think I said that way before. Yeah, I did. So this is number 2. When you have left the relationship maybe long ago, but you think about the other person obsessively, you can't get them out of your mind. You can't.
And it's crazy. So that is absolutely positively so correct. But eventually you can, but it takes a while. Like, especially I can only speak for me, but most females are the same because we get attached really easily. But it took me a while, and sometimes it still does, because I sometimes often sit back and think about things, and I wonder what they're doing, and you see things like where people you've dated are like in a relationship or getting married or about to have children, and you're like, oh, what did I do? So sometimes, yeah, it can take a while.
Okay.
It can take a while.
Yeah, I agree. But and you said females. So I know that was one thing. So you think it's worse for females than it is on men?
I want to say that men are so strong. At least that's how they portray themselves. With women and men, I feel like men are so strong and they don't necessarily show their feelings. But I think that women definitely sometimes struggle with it a little bit harder. I feel like men are able to sometimes push forward a little bit faster. Not saying that they don't hurt, but they have more coping mechanisms to move forward faster than we do.
I get it. I agree 100%. I think with men, because we're not as emotional as women on a usual basis, right? I think that's what, what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that men don't hurt. I think just men show their hurt in different ways. I think with a man, when he's hurt, he's more apt to try, F that girl. I'm going to just, I'm saying? I'm going to go find somebody else. I'm going to go, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like this tough macho man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like most times a man's not going to be like soft about that and just be like, bro, I really miss her. Or, you know what I'm saying? Very few. Now, I'm not saying that they don't exist, because I've definitely met some that's like, man, they really, really love that girl. And then when they do break up and it's like, man, I really miss her. I miss, stuff about her, all that good stuff. But I don't think that's always a typical thing.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? So, another sign that you have an unhealthy soul tie is whenever you do anything, make a decision, have a conversation with someone, anything, you feel like this person is with you or watching you. That's creepy.
That's creepy. You know what? I possibly might have had a soul tie with my parents when I was in undergrad because when I used to do silly things, I used to think that they were going to show up.
That's conviction.
So I think I had a soul tie with them.
That was probably the Holy Ghost, but you know.
Oh God! But no, I can see that to be true.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think what I'm saying. And again, it's just like I have to really kind of get going back to this marriage thing because that was probably my best example of that. Sure. But I don't know. Like I felt like even after the fact, like trying to date. After, like it was still weird. Like it would be like, you would meet them and be like, well, who do you know? Where you from? And they'd be like, they start saying like certain names, even if I didn't know. Like they'd be like, for example, like I don't even know a Jamal, but for the sake of conversation, he'd be like, yeah, you know a Jamal? Be like, Jamal who? Oh no. Well, Jamal what? What's his last name? Oh yeah. Well, he my first cousin. Oh for real? Oh okay. Check. You can go ahead and bring that check because we done here. So. It's. I mean, I'm serious. It just be like, nah, and it felt, and it wasn't necessarily that dramatic, but like mentally, like I was on a date and she said somebody's name that we both knew, that my ex-wife and it really wasn't like even really good friends. It was just somebody we met along the way, and it was like, yeah, you know such and such. Oh, that's my first cousin. I was like, oh, for real? Oh, in my mind, I was like, yeah, this is over. This is it. This is. I was just done because it was just this thing where I was like. What if she go back and tell her, like, you know what I'm saying? And then she was, I'm not saying she was this type of female because I didn't know her that well, but in my mind, I was just like, she probably one of them girls that's like, gonna go back and tell her, like, she probably just out there. I was like, what if my ex-wife set this whole date up and like, she just trying to find out what I'm doing now? And it was, I really felt like that little cloud. Like, yeah, it was intense. Yeah. And so, as I got older and started realizing like, I was a little bit like, that was a little bit crazy, Josh. You know, that was a little overboard. But then, like you said, just that connection and Houston having that person, like, and then on top of that, when I was cheating, that was really where it came from. So I'd be like, whoa, God, like, please don't come back and tell.
Okay, and number 4, we're moving on.
Number
Go ahead and read number 4.
When you have sex with someone else, hopefully your husband or wife.
Yes, they said hopefully.
Who made this 700 Club? You can hardly keep up with yourself from visualizing the person you have a soul tie with.
Mm-hmm. And it says you can hardly keep up. Keep
yourself. Yeah. Oh, that's what I said.
You keep it up. You can hardly keep up yourself.
But that's what I mean. Shoot, we getting in there like, there. Well, you don't do that thing like Shamika do it. I'll tell you. You know what I'm saying?
So okay,
that's a soul tie.
So let's go. Okay, so number 4 says
you gonna make that roof run away.
You guys don't listen to what he's saying right now. We're moving forward. He's crazy.
Sharonda used to bless me just like this.
Anyway, so Josh, shush.
You need some lessons.
Josh, hush.
Bless. All right. Number 5.
Yeah, we're going to skip number 4. You guys got it, but we're going to move on.
You take on the negative traits of the person that your soul is tied to and carry their offenses whether or not you actually agree with them. So anyway, let me read.
Yeah, you do.
You take on the negative traits of the person that your soul tie is tied to.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Do. So the negative traits, I never thought about it like that.
You absolutely. And you don't, honestly, like, you don't think about the negative traits until after you guys are done. Like, oh my God, I did not live.
You know what's crazy? I used to call it love blinders.
Yeah.
And so you get in love with somebody and then all of a sudden all these red flags pop up, all these things that in your normal, like before this, whatever, that you have seen this a mile away. But it's like they do something, whether it be sexual. Sometimes it's not even sexual. Sometimes it's with the companionship. Sometimes it's like, man, I've never had somebody that I vibed with like this ever. And then it's like they got 6 kids and you don't know nothing about them, and
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And it's just like it's like even when people come to you to be like, yeah, you know, you got 6 kids, you be like, no. No. It's a baby seat. Be like, yeah. My homeboy. That's my homeboy baby seat. 4 of them. Like, yeah. He just left them.
Yeah.
Like red flags. Like even though I was trying to be comical about it, like at the end of the day, like not seeing those red flags simply because you like, man, I don't want this to go away. I don't want this to end. So
I think like it's not necessarily soul tie, but with the red flags, like that's why I think people, before you get into a relationship with someone, like you have to be, I feel like you have to be friends with them because you need to understand them and get to know them, because when you're friends with someone, you're automatically going to realize all of their traits. All of their red flags, all of their craziness and things that transpire with them. So when you get into a relationship, it won't be as like, oh, I didn't even know you did that.
right.
Because your friend, if you get close with someone, you're gonna see it.
Okay, so you brought up a good point. So friends first. So you get in a relationship, you have to be friends first, right?
I think so.
Okay, so can friends sleep with each other? But this is the reason I bring this up, right? Because I know that was kind of put you on the spot. So the reason I say that is because you said before you make that soul tie, right? The soul tie, which we're indicating that you have to have sex to do this, right? So before you do that,
But remember, the last episode I said I think sometimes it's a mind thing.
Okay, so anyway, no, right, I get it.
Excuse me.
But what I'm saying now is that you have this certain connection with this person. You think that you have to build every person that you become sexual with. You have to build this friendship first.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel
that.
so.
So you feel like there's no ever alternative like to that. There's never ever like you see a person and you're automatic. Not saying that you automatically have sex with them, but you automatically start thinking romantic.
No, I think that leads to destruction. I think it leads to destruction. The times are so different. I'm not super old, but the times are just so different now. And it's like, okay, before I say we gonna talk, or before I say we exclusive, I need to be your friend. I need to know what bothers you, what ticks you off, because during that friendship, you'll realize like if that person's just gonna be your friend, or if you can see more with that person. So it won't be like too crazy when something does transpire. And to answer your question, I think friends can. I think it just depends on the friends.
Okay.
And who the friends are.
I don't think that even though you're friends, or they use the term friends with benefits, I don't think you can really be like a true like friend and then have that soul tie and then things still be the exact same. I think that once you start having sex, you introduce a different element to that relationship. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it is a stronger bond. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it depends on the person, the situation. Like that's real, situational based. But it definitely strengthens the connection if that's what you guys are on.
Yeah.
For sure. So, bows versus bros.